here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with our final segment, part 9. And what I'd want to do is cover a checklist, if you will, a list of questions to ask yourself on how best to analyze any homework problem or discussion thread problem so that you're sure that you get the best grade possible on that work. Okay? And to do that, there are 10 simple questions that I would like you to ask yourself as you develop your answers to a particular problem. Okay? And to begin with, we want to know, what is the starting situation? Invariably, we start at equilibrium, okay? And we're given a situation, what the starting point is. Then the second thing that we're given is what the change in that situation is. Okay? And then once we find that out, once we know what the change is in the situation, then the next question we want to ask ourselves is, does it affect either the demand or the supply? Okay? So we need to know that. We need to know, what is it affecting? Is it affecting demand, or is the situation that changes going to affect supply? Okay? Once we've determined which of those two it's going to affect, then the next question is, does the situation result in a movement along the curve, which would be caused only if the situation describes a change in price, or does it involve a shift of the curve? And remember, there's a certain set of factors that would cause a shift in a demand curve, and there's another totally different set of factors that would cause a shift in the supply curve. Right? Now, if we go back to the question, if it's movement, is the movement up or is it down? Okay? So if we're experiencing either movement up a supply curve or up a demand curve, or are we experiencing movement down the supply curve or down the demand curve? Okay? So if our question had answered yes, there was movement because they've described a price change, then is that movement going to be up or down which curve? Okay? Now, if the situation, instead of presenting us with a movement, if it's going to give us a series of factors or a factor that causes us to recognize that it is giving us a shift in the curve, then are we talking about, remember, we've already determined if we're talking about supply or demand. Now we've determined that it is a shift in that curve. Now, is that shift to the left or is it to the right? Okay? If we're talking about a demand curve shifting to the right, that means more will be demanded at every price. If it's a shift to the left, less will be demanded at every price. If we're talking about the supply curve, if it is a shift to the right, more will be supplied at every price. If it's a shift to the left, less will be supplied at every price. Okay? So once we've determined what direction the shift goes in, if it's a shift, then the next question is, what will be the reaction that will be caused in the other curve? So if our problem situation has given us information about a shift in the supply curve, okay, then after that shift takes place, what will the consumers see in their demand curve? What will be their reaction, if you will, to that shift? And then the reverse, if we're talking about a shift of the demand curve, okay, then what will the suppliers see as a result or a reaction to that shift? Okay. Now finally, or not finally, but the 8th question you want to ask yourself is, after all this is done, what will happen to the new equilibrium point? Where will it be? Okay. And hand in hand with that, once you've determined where the new equilibrium point will be, then question 9, is the final price higher or lower than the original equilibrium? And is the final quantity demanded and supplied, is it higher or lower? Now, you can have some side questions to this. For instance, in the previous part, in part 8, we were looking at an increased demand where we had both America and Germany. We had them both demanding. And then we asked, well, what happened to the Americans' demand alone? Okay? So we could have a situation where the problem asks you to go back and look at what's happening to just one segment of that combined demand, or likewise combined supply. So there's a lot of variations that you can have in this situation. Okay? But if you use these 10 questions as your guide to answering your problem, or your whatever the homework problem is, then you should be able to come up with virtually all the major factors that your homework would be graded upon. Okay? So with that, I would like to thank you for participating in the music or the slides that we had. I hope this provides some good information for you, and I hope that it helps clarify some of the information for you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. You know how to get a hold of me, either through email or through the AOL instant messaging. So please come to me anytime you need me, and I'm here to help you understand the material. With that, thank you very much.